I knew something was wrong when she took her shoes off at the door. She never did that. Never. We've lived in this apartment for 5 years, and every single time she came home, her heels clicked through the hallway like a metronome of chaos. But that night, silence. She stepped in like a ghost, barefoot, careful, like she didn't want to leave a trace. She didn't know I was awake. I'd been lying on the couch, pretending to sleep. TV off, lights dimmed. A half-finished crossword open on my chest that I hadn't touched since 9 p.m. I heard her keys jingle, pause, and then gently land on the entry table. No sigh. No hey babe. Just air. She moved quietly down the hall, opened the bathroom door. Water ran. Not a shower, just the faucet. I counted 17 seconds. Then silence again. The cabinet creaked open, then shut. She didn't come to the living room. Instead, I heard the soft click of the bedroom door closing behind her. No lock. Just a quiet barrier, like a curtain falling between two actors who no longer remember their lines. I waited. 5 minutes. 10. Then I stood up and walked to the entry table. Her purse was there, not zipped. A sliver of her wallet peeked out, along with a folded parking stub and something yellow. A sticky note. Just one word written in her handwriting. Sorry. That's when my stomach turned inside out. She'd never written me a note before. Not like that. Not handwritten. Not passive. She was the type to text me things like, "You forgot the oat milk expressionless face," or "Your mom called. I'm not answering." But a single sticky note with sorry? I opened the bedroom door. Slowly. She was already asleep. Or pretending to be. Her back to me. The light from the hallway just barely touching the edge of her cheek. She was still wearing makeup. That never happens. She always washes her face. Micellar water, oil cleanser, toner, all that stuff. It's like a ritual. But tonight, mascara still on. Lipstick barely smudged. That lipstick. It was new. I'd never seen that shade before. I stood there like an idiot in the doorway, my hand still on the knob, watching the woman I thought I knew pretend not to breathe differently. She was awake. I could tell. Her shoulders were too still. I didn't say a word. I just closed the door again, went back to the couch, and stared at the ceiling while the walls of our apartment slowly started to bend in on me. I didn't know it yet, but that night was the quiet explosion before the real storm. Because the next morning, I would open my email and find a calendar invite from my boss. Subject line: urgent. Just you and me. The next morning started before the sun came up. I didn't sleep, not really. I just stared into the dark, listening to her breathing pattern on the other side of the wall, trying to convince myself it was all in my head, that I was being paranoid, sensitive, overthinking. But my brain didn't buy it. It kept whispering, she's hiding something. She's hiding everything. I got up before my alarm, showered without music, brushed my teeth without looking in the mirror. Everything felt out of sync, like I was underwater in my own life. Then, as I made my sad little breakfast, 2 eggs, half-burnt toast, and a banana that had given up on life, I checked my work email. There it was. Subject: urgent. Just you and me. From E. Beringer. Time: 10:30 a.m. Room: 3B, West Annex. Note: none. No context. No attachments. Just that. Now, let me explain something. My boss doesn't send calendar invites. Ever. He either pings you on Slack with a "yo you free?" or he corners you by the coffee machine and talks your ear off for 40 minutes about how he once sold a Jeep to his senator's nephew. So this was a red flag wrapped in a flashing siren. I showed up to the office like a zombie with a tie. Everyone else looked normal. Business as usual. Cindy from accounting was refilling the candy jar like it was her life's mission. Derek was telling the intern a story that definitely didn't happen. I felt like I was watching a movie of my job, not living it. At 10:29 a.m., I walked to room 3B. The West Annex is barely used. It's old, dim, filled with filing cabinets and broken printers. 3B used to be a records room. Now it's just a small space with 1 table, 2 chairs, and that eerie fluorescent hum that makes you feel like your skin is buzzing. He was already there when I walked in. My boss, Elijah Beringer. Slick, confident, mid-40s with the haircut of a TV pastor and the smug grin of a man who always wins arguments. He didn't greet me, didn't even look up at first, just motioned to the chair. I sat. For a second, neither of us said a word. The only sound was the creaking of the chair under my weight and the faint tap-tap of his pen against a folder. Then, without looking at me, he said, "You know, I always thought she was too good for you." That's how he opened. No context. No preamble. Just that. My throat went dry. "What are you talking about?" I asked, too quickly. He finally looked at me, and I swear to God, there wasn't an ounce of regret in his eyes. Just cold amusement, like he was watching a joke unfold exactly as he'd written it. "Come on, Trey," he said, leaning back. "You must have known. You're not a stupid guy. Sensitive, sure. Bit of a pushover, but not stupid." I didn't answer. I couldn't. My brain had shut down somewhere around "too good for you." He pulled out a manila envelope and slid it across the table. "I wanted you to hear it from me first, before things get public." I didn't open it. "What is this?" "Photos. A few texts. Some screenshots. Maybe an airline itinerary. Depends on how thorough she was." I didn't check every page. "What?" I stammered. You're joking." He gave me that look. The one people give when they feel sorry for you, but also think you deserve it. I'm not. My hands didn't move. My legs felt like they were filled with sand. "Why?" He smiled. "Because she wanted someone who listens. Someone who actually looks her in the eye when she talks. Someone who doesn't shut down emotionally every time life gets inconvenient." That line broke something in me. I wasn't angry. I didn't flip the table or throw the envelope or punch him in the face like the version of me in my head. I just sat there, sinking further into the chair, feeling like I was watching a stranger's life collapse in real time. Then he stood up, straightened his cuffs, and said, "Anyway, HR's going to call you this afternoon. No hard feelings, yeah?" And just like that, he walked out. I didn't move for a full 10 minutes. When I finally opened the envelope, the first thing I saw was a photo. Tilda, in an airport lounge, sitting next to him, her hand on his chest. The date stamp? Last Friday, the night she told me she was at her sister's baby shower. I took the rest of the day off, though no one officially told me to. I walked out of that tiny room in the West Annex with the envelope tucked under my arm like it was a bomb no one else could see, moving past my coworkers in a daze. Someone called my name. I think it was Karen from HR, or maybe Jacob from sales, I don't know. Their voices didn't register anymore. They were background noise in a movie I was no longer starring in. When I got to the parking garage, I just sat in the car for a while, not driving. The engine off, windows cracked. The envelope sat on the passenger seat, staring back at me like it was daring me to look deeper. But I didn't. I already knew what was inside. I knew too much, and yet somehow, not enough. I thought about calling Tilda. Just calling her. Not screaming, not accusing, just asking a simple question. Why? But even that felt too generous. Too soft. I didn't want to give her the luxury of a conversation, not yet. She had stolen something more than loyalty. She'd robbed me of reality itself. My version of her was now rotting. Every memory felt fake. Every word, every laugh, every night spent watching dumb documentaries on the couch now felt like part of a carefully constructed illusion. I eventually drove home, if you can call rolling down the highway with no music and a blank stare driving. Every traffic light was an opportunity to turn around. But I didn't. I went straight to the apartment we'd shared for 5 years. The moment I opened the door, I knew something was off. It smelled like her perfume, but stronger than usual, like she'd just sprayed it before leaving. There was a used mug in the sink, tea bag still dripping. A sweater tossed carelessly over the arm of the couch. Everything looked normal, but it felt staged, like someone had tried to simulate a cozy life from memory, but got the details wrong. I walked to the bedroom. Her suitcase was missing. We only had 2. Mine was in the closet. Hers, the rose gold one with the dented corner from our Chicago trip, was gone. That confirmed it. She hadn't come home from work. She hadn't gone to her sister's. She hadn't stayed late because of traffic. She had packed a bag and left quietly, like a thief taking one last look at what she'd stolen. I sat on the edge of the bed and looked at the framed photo on her nightstand. Us, 2 summers ago, standing in front of a waterfall in Oregon. I remember that trip. I remember how cold the water was. I remember how she laughed when I slipped on a rock and bruised my hip. I remember how she kissed me that night like we were the only 2 people left on Earth. But looking at that photo now, I couldn't remember if she was ever really looking at me, or just playing a part. A performance. One I believed because I wanted to. That night, I couldn't stay in the apartment. I packed a bag and left. No plan, no destination. Just grabbed a few shirts, my laptop, the folder from my boss, and left. I didn't even lock the door. I booked a cheap motel 15 minutes out of the city. One of those depressing places with carpet that smells like mildew and vending machines full of expired candy. I didn't care. I just needed distance. From her, from him, from the version of myself that used to think love was enough. I opened the envelope again, this time under the flickering yellow light of a motel lamp. Page after page of betrayal. Receipts from restaurants I'd never heard of. A boarding pass with her name on it. Destination, Austin. A blurry photo of her in a hotel lobby, sitting far too close to him. Messages that weren't explicit but were clear enough. Phrases like, "Can't stop thinking about Friday," and "You looked amazing in that dress," and "Wish I could wake up next to you every morning." The worst part? The dates. They went back 7 months. 7 months. That meant Christmas. That meant my birthday. That meant the night we'd hosted my parents for dinner, and she'd hugged my mom and thanked her for raising such a patient man. I wanted to be sick. Instead, I just sat there in that sticky motel chair and cried. Not loud, not ugly. Just quiet, tired tears. The kind that feel like they've been waiting for years to fall. Around 2 a.m., I finally checked my phone. For missed calls. One voicemail. All from her. I hesitated, then pressed play. Her voice, soft, nervous. "Hey, I know this is probably. I just wanted to say I'm not proud of anything. But you should know that everything between us wasn't fake. Not all of it. I'll explain everything. I need a little time. Please don't shut me out. Please." Then silence. Then the beep. I stared at the phone like it had grown teeth. Time. Time for what? To erase the last 7 months? To unkiss him? To return the nights she gave to someone else while I sat on our couch wondering why she smiled less? I lay back on the bed, fully clothed, and stared at the stained ceiling. And I made a decision. I wouldn't call her back. Not yet. Instead, I was going to find out how far this rabbit hole went. Because I had a feeling she wasn't the only one keeping secrets. By the next morning, I had barely slept. Again. But this time, something had shifted. The grief wasn't gone, but it had crystallized into something colder, something sharper. Curiosity. Not the good kind. Not the, "I wonder how this trick works" kind. The desperate kind. The kind that gnaws at your chest and whispers that you don't know the full story yet. And if you don't find out, you'll never be able to let go. So I went back to the apartment. It felt weird unlocking the door again, like I was stepping into someone else's life. Her perfume still lingered faintly in the air, but her energy was gone. I could tell just by the way the light fell across the kitchen counter. It didn't feel like ours anymore. Just a hollowed-out copy of it. She hadn't come back. There was no new note. No packed boxes. Just absence. And silence. I walked past the couch, past the framed vacation photo she always said made us look like a toothpaste ad, and sat down at her desk in the corner. Tilda had always been obsessive about digital clutter. Her folders were categorized by color-coded tags, her desktop was spotless, and she once reorganized my hard drive without asking, claiming she couldn't breathe looking at that chaos. So you can imagine how fast my heart sank when I saw it. A folder, dead center on the desktop. No icon. No color tag. Just a name. Temp, do not open. It hadn't been there before. I was sure of it. And that name? That lazy name? Tilda would never leave something that messy, especially on her own desktop. She renamed her grocery lists. So why would she leave a folder called Temp, do not open? And more importantly, why would she leave it on my computer? Unless she wanted me to find it. I hesitated. I knew opening it could change everything. But honestly, things had already changed. There was no status quo to protect anymore. So I opened it. Inside were 3 files. One was a photo. One was a video. And the third was a Word document titled simply, "In case I can't explain." I opened the photo first. It was of her, taken in a hotel bathroom mirror. Not inappropriate, just strange. She looked tense. Her lips were pressed into a line, her eyes puffy like she'd been crying. In the background, I could see a suitcase. Her suitcase. I checked the timestamp. 2 weeks ago. Same weekend she told me she was going to visit her aunt in Oregon. Then I played the video. It was grainy, filmed from a phone, shaky, like she was hiding it in her lap. The angle was terrible, but I recognized the voice immediately. Elijah Beringer. My boss. He was talking fast, sounding agitated. "I told you this isn't a game, Tilda. If he finds out, it's over. For both of us. You get that, right?" She didn't answer. He stepped closer to wherever she was sitting. Do you get that? Still silence. Then he added, if you open your mouth to him, I swear I will bury you in legal hell. And he'll never believe you anyway. The video cut out. That was it. My hands started shaking. Not with fear. With confusion. Rage. Something else. I opened the document. It was a letter. To me. Trey, I'm sorry. For all of it. But there's so much you don't understand. I didn't choose this. Not the way you think. Please don't believe everything he tells you. I made mistakes, yes. I should have come clean months ago. I should have told you when he first threatened me. But I thought I could fix it before it all fell apart. I thought if I just played along for a little longer, I could protect you. He's not who he says he is. If you're reading this, I'm gone. Not just from the apartment. From the whole thing. I'm done playing the role he wrote for me. I loved you. I still do. You were the only real thing in my life for years. And I hope someday, when you know everything, you'll believe that. I read it again. Then a third time. And still, my brain refused to accept it. What did she mean, threatened? What role? What game? I stood up, pacing. My legs felt like wet paper. All this time I'd been imagining her as cold, calculated, manipulative. But what if she wasn't? What if she was in over her head? What if this wasn't a clean betrayal, but something darker? Something she tried to survive? I thought about the way she avoided eye contact the week before. The tension in her shoulders. The way she'd cried alone in the bathroom last Wednesday. And suddenly, it didn't look like guilt. It looked like fear. I sat back down, heart racing. There was one thing I knew for sure. My boss, Elijah Beringer, had lied to me. And if he had lied about Tilda, what else had he done? I didn't go back to the motel that night. After reading Tilda's letter, watching the video, staring at the blurred panic in her eyes for what felt like hours, I couldn't sit in some moldy motel room and pretend like this was just another heartbreak story. It wasn't. This wasn't about a woman cheating and a man getting sad. This was bigger, stranger, twisted in ways I hadn't expected. So I stayed at the apartment. I didn't sleep. I couldn't. My brain was sprinting in circles, trying to line up everything I'd seen and everything I'd assumed, and realizing none of it fit. I kept rereading the sentence from her letter. He's not who he says he is. I opened my laptop and Googled his name. Elijah Beringer. Dozens of results. Most of them what you'd expect. Company press releases, LinkedIn, panels he'd spoken on, awards he'd bought his way into. Smiling headshots, blazers, the same smug confidence he wore in the office. But then something else popped up. An article. From 6 years ago. Title. Tech consultant implicated in discrimination scandal. Quiet settlement reached. It was behind a paywall. So I did what any desperate, sleepless man would do. I found an archived version on an old forum for whistleblower journalists. And there he was. Same face. Different name. Still Elijah, but a different last name. Branner. Same smug smirk. Same gold wedding band. Same mole above his eyebrow that I'd always tried not to stare at when he leaned in too close. The article was vague, clearly legally sanitized, but the gist was this. He'd been accused of manipulating a subordinate. A woman. There were mentions of hush payments. Legal pressure. Terms like coercive influence and power imbalance. The woman's name was redacted. The case had quietly disappeared 6 months later. There were no follow-ups. No lawsuits. No formal charges. But the man vanished from the tech scene for over a year, and then reappeared under a new last name. Conveniently, just as our company was hiring for a VP of strategy. I sat back in my chair, heart thudding. He changed his name. He disappeared for a year. Then resurfaced in our company, with a blank slate narrative and no public baggage. And I never questioned it. I never even thought to. I checked the domain of his old email. Dead. The consulting firm he used to work for? Shut down. Their website now redirected to a chain of fitness franchises in Florida. It felt like I'd accidentally peeled the wallpaper off a wall and found mold underneath. Rot. A secret nobody wanted exposed. I didn't know what to do. I didn't know who to talk to. HR? They worked for him. The CEO? Barely showed up twice a year. The police? What would I even say? My fiancée might not have cheated on me. She might have been blackmailed by my boss who used to be someone else. They'd laugh me out of the building. I scrolled back through the video she left. I watched it again, this time with earphones in, trying to catch every word, every tone. Elijah said, if he finds out, it's over. For both of us. That line stuck. For both of us. Not just her. So what exactly was he protecting? That's when it hit me. This wasn't about me and Tilda. This was about something else. Something he didn't want public. And if he was willing to threaten her, what was he willing to do to keep it buried? I copied the video and let her onto a flash drive. Made 3 backups. Encrypted the files. I didn't trust the cloud anymore. I didn't trust anything. Then I called someone I hadn't spoken to in nearly a year. Curtis, my old college roommate. A cybersecurity analyst who once hacked the university's parking system just to prove the dean was overcharging faculty. He picked up on the third ring. Trey? Whoa. What's going on? I haven't heard from you since. I need a favor, I interrupted. My voice sounded hollow, and I need it off the record. What kind of favor? I need you to dig into someone. Quietly. And I need to know if he's cleaned his digital fingerprints or just hidden them. There was a long pause. That sounds dangerous, Curtis said. It probably is. Another pause. Then, send me the name. I did. And then I sat in the dark apartment, watching the sun start to rise over the rooftops, wondering how deep this thing really went. Because if Tilda was telling the truth, then Elijah wasn't just a liar. He was a predator, and I'd been working under him for almost 2 years. I didn't expect the call, especially not from Harper. Tilda's sister and I had always had a rocky relationship at best. She was blunt, sarcastic, and treated me like I was some long-term placeholder that Tilda hadn't worked up the courage to evict. She never said it, but she didn't have to. Every raised eyebrow at a dinner table, every pointed joke about safe choices, every backhanded compliment, it was all there. So when my phone lit up with her name, I froze. At first I thought she knew. That maybe Tilda had told her everything. Maybe Harper was calling to yell, or defend her sister, or just twist the knife a little deeper. But the moment I answered, I realized something was wrong. Her voice was strained. Fast. Trey, sorry to bother you. I know things are weird right now, but have you heard from Tilda? I hesitated. Not since Sunday. Okay, that's okay weird. She texted me Monday morning and said she was flying to Mexico for a week. But that doesn't make sense. You guys didn't have a trip planned, right? No, I said quickly. We didn't. Right? And she didn't say anything to you? She didn't leave a note or? I almost laughed. A note? She'd left a digital landmine on my computer, a folder with a video of my boss threatening her, and a letter hinting at blackmail. But sure, yeah, she hadn't sent a postcard. I swallowed. She left some things. Just not about Mexico. Trey, Harper paused. Look, I don't want to panic, but I've tried calling her 5 times. No answer. Texts aren't delivering. She said she'd send me her hotel info, but never did. Just a weird selfie from an airport lounge, and then nothing. Airport lounge. I asked. Which one? She didn't say. Just a picture with a drink and some folded boarding pass in the corner. I only noticed the number. Gate C12. I froze. That detail. It mattered. Because C12 wasn't for international flights. Not here. C12 was domestic. Regional. I'd flown out of that gate 3 months ago to visit my cousin in Seattle. She hadn't gone to Mexico. She wanted people to think she had. I thanked Harper, promised to let her know if I heard anything, and hung up. Then I sat there, staring at the wall like it owed me an explanation. Why lie to her own sister? Why vanish? Unless she was running, from more than just guilt. And then another thought hit me. The letter. The video. The folder named Temp, Do Not Open. What if she didn't just leave that for me? What if she knew Elijah would search the apartment? What if that file was bait? I grabbed the flash drive with the backups and tucked it into my backpack, then reached for my laptop and started combing through her email again. I hadn't touched it since that first sleepless night, but now I looked closer with a different lens. I checked her deleted folder. Nothing. Then her drafts. One item. Untitled. It was an email addressed to no one. Just an open field with 3 lines typed out. If anything happens to me, it wasn't random. Check Beringer's transfer history from Q2. There's a second phone. You'll know where. I read those lines over and over. Q2 meant second quarter. April to June. I remembered vaguely that Elijah had pushed through some weird budget reallocations around that time. Said it was for client-side optimization. I hadn't thought twice about it. And the phone? You'll know where, she said. I tried to think like her. If you were hiding something from a man who might be watching everything, where would you leave it? Where could someone like me find it? But someone like him wouldn't think to check. Then I remembered the piano. In the living room. A dusty, half-tuned upright we'd bought at a garage sale 2 years ago because Tilda swore she'd take lessons again someday. She never did. It had just become a fancy photo backdrop, a place for mail and the occasional glass of wine. I knelt beside it and opened the lid. The keys groaned softly. Then I reached underneath, felt along the wooden base, and there, a strip of electrical tape, holding something. I pulled it free. A small prepaid burner phone. Dead, but intact. I plugged it into the old USB charger in the kitchen. The screen flickered to life with a janky loading screen, then opened directly to a locked screen with a 4-digit passcode. I tried the obvious ones. Our anniversary. Her birthday. The zip code of our apartment. Nothing. Then I tried 1739, the number of our first apartment. The screen unlocked. No contacts saved. No emails. Just one messaging app. And one thread. No names. Just a string of messages between her and someone labeled A. And the first message stopped my heart cold. Got it. He suspects nothing. He thinks I'm the one chasing him. Then a reply from A. Keep it that way. We're close. One more push and he cracks. My mouth went dry. I scrolled. There were dozens of messages. Plans. Dates. Mentions of money being shifted, hidden under project names I remembered from work. There were screenshots of wire transfers. Photos of client invoices altered to show inflated figures. She wasn't just a pawn. She was in the game. I dropped the phone on the table, backed away, and felt my legs hit the back of the couch. What had she been doing? Was she working against Elijah? Was she working with him? Or was she working with someone else entirely? And most terrifying of all, was I just collateral damage? Because if even half of what was on that phone was real, it meant something huge was happening behind the scenes at my company. Something criminal. Something that could ruin careers. Or worse. And Tilda had disappeared just before it all boiled over. I didn't sleep again that night. After discovering the burner phone, reading the messages, and realizing I had no idea who Tilda really was, or what she'd been wrapped up in, I sat frozen on the kitchen floor with the phone still lit in my palm. The weight of it felt wrong. Like it didn't belong in this world. Like it carried some kind of digital poison no one was meant to touch. Around 4 a.m., I finally pulled myself together enough to make a plan. I copied every message, every attachment, every file from the burner to an encrypted drive. Then I destroyed the phone. Not just powered it off, destroyed it. Took it apart with tools, smashed the chip, dumped the battery in a coffee can full of vinegar, and flushed the SIM card down the toilet. I know how paranoid that sounds. But when you've seen what I've seen, caution starts to feel like sanity. By 6 a.m., I was on the road. I didn't go back to the motel. I didn't go to work. I drove 2 towns over, rented a bland beige office at a co-working space under a fake name, and set up shop. I needed quiet. I needed somewhere no one could trace. And most of all, I needed someone I could trust. So I called Curtis again. I found something. I told him over a secure call. More than I expected. You always find more than you expect, Trey, he muttered. What is it this time? Hidden server? Botnet? Corporate ghost accounts? I sent him the contents of the flash drive. 10 minutes later, he called back, voice low, sharp. Where the hell did you get this? From Tilda. Your fiancé? Yeah. Silence. Then he said, Trey, this isn't just corporate fraud. This is way beyond that. These accounts, some of them aren't even domestic. I'm seeing names that trace back to shell corporations in 3 different countries. Some of these transfers are over 6 figures. And the weird part? A lot of it routes back to internal development budgets. Looks like someone's been laundering money through R&D projects that don't exist. My stomach dropped. So it's real, I said quietly. It's more than real. It's organized. And someone's been cleaning their trail fast. Whoever you're up against knows how to bury things. Which makes me think someone very powerful is involved. This kind of pattern. I've only seen it once before, and that case took down a regional VP at a defense contractor. I sat still for a moment, the air in the tiny office suddenly feeling thinner. Can you trace any of it back to Elijah? I asked. Curtis hesitated. Not directly, but the names in these logs. One of them matches a private contractor he consulted with last year. Guy runs a strategy firm out of DC, but it's basically just a front. Does a lot of private influence work. There's a good chance your boss isn't just stealing money. He might be part of a wider funnel operation. And Tilda? I asked. What was she doing in all of this? That, Curtis said, is harder to tell. From the way she wrote in those messages, it sounds like she was gathering evidence. Like maybe she was trying to expose it. But she could have just as easily been feeding one side while playing the other. You mean she could have been working both angles? Or playing a third? I didn't respond. My chest felt heavy. I thought I'd hit the bottom of the story. That finding the burner phone was the final piece. But now, it felt like I had only uncovered the first layer. When I finally left the office around 10 a.m., I took a back route out of the parking lot. I don't know what made me check the mirror. Maybe it was instinct. Maybe it was something else. But when I glanced back, I saw the silver sedan, parked under a tree, engine off, windows tinted just enough to avoid suspicion, but not enough to disappear entirely. It wasn't parked there when I arrived, and when I pulled out, it didn't move. Not right away. It waited a full 10 seconds, just long enough to seem innocent, and then pulled out too. Same distance, same turns. I didn't go home. I didn't go anywhere familiar. Instead, I made a series of random turns. Left, then right, then into a gas station, then out again. I looped through an industrial zone with broken fences and forgotten buildings. The sedan followed, always at a distance, always too careful. By the time I reached the riverfront, I was sure. I was being watched. I parked at a public lot, got out, and walked casually toward a park bench. Then I took a risk. I turned around and stared straight at the driver's seat of the silver sedan. The figure behind the wheel shifted slightly. Then the car pulled away. No license plate on the front. No visible ID. Gone in seconds. I stood there, frozen, heart pounding. Who were they? Elijah? The contractor? Tilda? No, not her. Not like this. She would have come to me. She would have said something. Wouldn't she? That night, I slept in my car with the flash drive tucked under my jacket. Just me, a bottle of warm water, and the question that wouldn't leave my head. Was I the only person left who didn't know what game I was playing? A week passed. 7 full days since I found the burner phone. Since Curtis confirmed the conspiracy. Since the silver sedan watched me from across the parking lot. 7 days of living out of my car, changing locations, using prepaid SIM cards, and never sleeping more than 2 hours at a time. I didn't hear from her. No messages. No calls. No new evidence. It was like Tilda had dissolved into the background noise of the world. Just another face in a crowd that no longer turned around. Until today, it started with an envelope taped to the inside of my car window. No name, no return address. Just a plain manila folder, slightly weather-worn, stuck under my windshield wiper like a forgotten parking ticket. I hadn't noticed anyone near the car. I'd parked behind a laundromat in a half-abandoned neighborhood on purpose. No cameras, no foot traffic, no one who cared. Inside the envelope was a single USB drive and a note in handwriting I knew better than my own. Go to room 6B. Same building. Bring this. No one else. T. It was her. My pulse kicked like a dropped engine. Room 6B. Same building. I knew exactly what she meant. The co-working space 2 towns over. The place I'd used to hide out. She had been watching. Or she had someone watching. Either way, she had known where I'd be. I almost didn't go. I almost let fear win. But then I remembered her letter. Her video. The messages. The pressure in her voice when she said, "I thought I could protect you." So I went. I parked around the back. Walked through the side entrance. Took the stairs instead of the elevator. My palms were sweating so badly, I had to wipe them on my jeans every few steps. When I reached room 6B, the door was already cracked open. She was sitting at the far end of the room, lit by a single desk lamp. No makeup. Hair tied back. A hoodie that wasn't hers, probably borrowed. She looked thinner, tired. But her eyes, those same gray-blue eyes that used to watch me type for hours just to say I looked cute when I was concentrating, they were still hers. "Trey," she said. I didn't answer. Not at first. I just stood in the doorway, trying to believe she was real. Then finally, I stepped inside and shut the door behind me. We sat across from each other in silence for almost a minute before she said anything. I didn't want to leave like that. "You didn't leave," I said quietly. "You disappeared." She nodded. Not defensive. Just tired. I had to. He knew I was close. Elijah. He'd already wiped half the logs. He was moving money faster than I could trace it. And when he realized I wasn't just some stupid girlfriend tagging along at business dinners, he got dangerous. "You should have told me," I whispered. "I couldn't. If I did, you'd be a target too. He watched you, Trey. Every meeting. Every email. You were the only one he feared might connect the dots. But I didn't. No, she said, finally meeting my eyes. Because you trusted me. That sentence broke something in me. Because after everything, I still did. She reached into her backpack and pulled out another USB. This is everything. The full chain. Every offshore account. Every falsified report. Every shell company. I finished it 2 nights ago. Curtis was right. There's a contractor behind all of it. Elijah's just a face. A well-groomed shield. I stared at it. So why give it to me? Because I'm leaving. For real this time. A safe house. Somewhere quiet. There are people who will protect me until the SEC finishes what they're about to start. And me? I asked. Where does that leave me? She blinked, slowly, then slid another envelope across the table. If you want to be done with this, take the money inside. Disappear. Start over. No one will stop you. I made sure of it. I didn't touch the envelope. And if I don't want to disappear? She hesitated. Then she smiled. For the first time in months. Then come with me. I looked at her. Really looked at her. Not as the woman who betrayed me. Not as the stranger who vanished. But as the person who'd spent the last year doing something most people would never have the courage to attempt. She hadn't been cheating on me. She'd been risking everything to take down a man who'd buried careers, stolen millions, and hurt people who couldn't fight back. She'd been fighting for something real. Fighting for me. I didn't need more time to think. I reached for her hand. She let me. And in that moment, with nothing but a backpack, 2 USBs, and a future that terrified both of us, I realized something. I wasn't the heartbroken victim anymore. I was finally free.